Simi Werunga was a member of the Nyumba Kumi initiative and is also a security expert. Thank you so much for making time.
Thank you.
For us tonight, a lot of issues about security, but feeding off that story by Elux Sequoia. At such times that I bet you've heard this before, being a member of that committee and a security expert, questions are always asked as to the relevance or the effectiveness of the Nyumba Kumi initiative in as far as countering terrorism is concerned. Look at the story we've talked about.
Yes.
Talking about Ali Salim Gishunge living in Kiambu.
Yes.
And it's either people say, we knew this person, he was a good neighbor, or we didn't know them at all.
Yes.
So is it really working, the Nyumba Kumi initiative?
Let me say this. The idea was very good. It's a noble idea. Any country that has adopted this kind of security management, they have been very successful. But I think the biggest problem in this country is we decide as a nation, this is what we want to do. But we give it to the wrong people. Because Nyumba Kumi is an innovative way of managing national security. And sometimes when you give it to a leadership that refuses to go with the times, it becomes a problem. And I think... You're
faulting the leadership of Nyumba Kumi initiative.
Nyumba Kumi, and I was there, but you know, I walked out quietly before I finished. Then they were given 3 other years. But when you ask them exactly what they've achieved in 5 years, you don't see it. So I think my suggestion will be, if this program has to continue, and it's a beautiful program, Hussein, it is a good program for national management of our security. We need to have leaders who have foresight, leaders who are innovative, and leaders who are ready to listen and absorb all ideas.
You left it for how long? 3 years?
16 months, 18 months.
18 months?
Yes.
That's a year and some months.
Yes.
What did you say, or what would you say you achieved yourself?
I think by the time, and I'm not saying this because I left at that time, I believe because I speak for what I was there. We had really achieved a lot of public awareness campaigns. We had gone to many counties. We had taught our police officers, National Forest Service, KWS. So we had a package of capacity building where we trained officers who went out to the counties to train them. And it was moving on very well, because the idea was build the capacity of a national security agency people, then now we go to the wananchi. And even by the time I was leaving, I think we had a program to train about 150 youth and a general population. So that these were now the people who we were training them as trainers to go and now train people in the county. Then from there, we wanted to bring in the chiefs, because those are the grassroots people. Okay. But by the time we were leaving, we had not gotten there. But Hussein is a beautiful program, and nobody should look at it as a Tanzanian model. Nyumba Kumi is community policing. It's just the name because the president used the word Nyumba Kumi.
It's but about crime in general.
It's crime.
Right now, obviously, we're focusing so much on terrorism.
Yes.
Where do you think there's a disconnect? Or how could it have helped? Or how should it help?
Nyumba Kumi is the lowest form of community policing in any society. We are talking of a villager, we are talking of a household, we are talking of the assistant chief, and if everybody works together at that level, then you'll definitely end up knowing your neighbor, you'll definitely end up talking about agriculture, talking about livestock, talking about security, talking about weather. That is the essence of community policing at that level. If it had succeeded well, I think the ideas of the Gishunge living in an estate for about 1 year should not have happened.
Okay, this is an interesting point you bring out. Of course, the leadership of Nyumba Kumi is not here, but this is your opinion, and you've been a member, you're a security analyst. Of course, we've heard what Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i has announced today about an impending operation to flush out criminal gangs and also illegal firearms. And talking about, you know, I found it interesting when he said there are certain neighborhoods, and 2019 is the year to clean them.
Yes.
He was not very clear on exactly what they'll be looking at, just crime. Yeah. But this coming after this terror attack, questions already being raised. Yes. Are we talking about another operation, just like what we saw after the Westgate attack?
I think they're going to, this is my view, is an assumption. I think they're now going to be very targeted in what they want to do. And when he talks about neighborhoods, we know of neighborhoods, for example, in Nairobi, where crime is a normal life. You talk of Dandora region, you talk of Korogocho areas, sometimes in Mathare. So I think what the police has decided, they want to have a targeted operation to flush out criminals and crime in this country. And if they do that, and they do it properly, I think it's going to assist the country also to achieve some targets. In Mombasa, we have areas of Kisauni where people are having problems throughout. So I think those are the areas he's talking about, known areas in this country that has a lot of high rate of prevalence of crime.
Not necessarily an operation to target.
No. I think it's just cleaning some of those neighborhoods that everybody knows in this country, and probably the operations have not been done well. So I think as an institute, as a service, they want to do it in a very focused manner and deal with those known problematic neighborhoods in this country.
All right.
Yes.
One more thing before I ask you a question about the amendments to the Registration of Persons Act. We've heard what the Tana River governor talked about today.
Yes.
This is again feeding about security.
Yes.
And he's talking about Somali refugees to be repatriated to Somalia because the country is peaceful, and the refugee camps should be closed, including Dadaab, if Kenya is to have security. Yes. How do you weigh in on this?
I don't know how far Tana River is with the border, Somalia. As a governor, I think either he's playing politics, or he's saying something that some of us don't understand. We know Tana River has had a problem of our friends from Garissa coming down with their camels and cattle, and they've been having these problems. So if he's talking about our Somali brothers and sisters who've been going down to Tana River, that's a different story. But I think from my standpoint, the problem in Tana River is not about refugees. The problem in Tana River is a resource-based conflict, and let the governor deal with it from that perspective.
So either way, the comments he's making, you don't think will enhance security in the country?
I don't think so. He has to be very specific. He needs to know what he wants to do and be very specific in what he wants the government to do. Because, Hussein, I can tell you this. I've carried programs in Mombasa for about 4 years. Mombasa Coast, Kilifi, Kwale, and Tana River's problem are in-house problems. So he needs, as a governor, either to come up with conflict resolution mechanisms or come up with people-based security intelligence-led programs and deal with the issues of Tana River without involving the issue of refugees.
All right.
Yes.
One more final thing. I'm sure you may be privy to this and have more information than most Kenyans. Government approving amendments to the Registration of Persons Act, and now an integrated system in as far as identification is concerned. How important is this, and how will it help generally?
I think it's a very crucial thing. We've been talking about this thing for the last 25 years. This country has never had a centralized data system. So even the CCTV you see in town, 15 billion of Safaricom, has no outlet with what they get. Because whatever they see is what they deal on. So they cannot feed this information to any data that can assist them manage security in this country. Number two, we are now going to digitize. We're already digitizing our passports. We are digitizing our ID cards. We are talking of digitizing our driving licenses. We are now going to guns. I can see the minister was showing something. So the fact that the country is really digitizing itself, you can only do that when you have a centralized data program and center that can assist you to be retrieving this information anytime you want. It's a good thing for the country. You cannot talk of forensic science or forensic investigations when you don't have a centralized data system that can assist you identify what you are looking for. And that's why it becomes very difficult for the police to be showing us the pictures of suspects, because at the end of the day, they might not have enough data on these people to allow us to assist them to get these people. So it's a good program.
All right. Simi Urunga is a security analyst. We have very little time with you tonight, but I'm sure we'll be engaging you later this week. But thank you so much, Simi Urunga, for making time for us tonight.